Somebody's gotta say it.
Turn it on, let's go!
The real conservative lives here.
Flashbang on the radio!
On the video. America's Rebel Football Christian Conservative, LHMusic. This is the Bible Crossing TimeFactor Video Country Products.
Let's do our Saudi update. Yesterday, we told you what was going on. That the two guys involved from Chechnya are the bombers, but there is a control agent. Now that part of this is my own hypothesis. He is a control agent. I don't know what role he played in this, but we're not going to be able to answer that question. If he is out of the country, he may be out of the country already. But this is closing our eyes to Al-Qaeda, closing our eyes to Islamic terror, closing our eyes to the Muslim Brotherhood, and the poison that is sent into our country through Saudi Arabia. Now, I have to tell you, this is not a Republican thing. The Republicans are just as bad. George Bush was just as bad, and many of the Republicans are just as bad. They all hold hands with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I have no idea why. I have speculation, but I don't have any hard evidence of it. But I will tell you that it has got to stop. Because Saudi Arabia is the poison that is pumping it all into our society, and this government is covering for it yet again. We've had multiple sources confirm that an event file, and it's important that you know that's what it's called, an event file, was created by the NTC, the National Terrorism Center. It was accusing Abdul Rahman Ali al-Harbi of being involved in a terrorist activity related to the Boston bombing. That's what the file or the event file actually reads. The file was created on Tuesday, the day after the bombing at 4 p.m. So you understand, this event file was created at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. That is after talking to the suspect in the hospital, saying, the FBI confirming that he was in custody, and they were questioning the suspect. They questioned him, I believe, for about 9 hours. Then you had to call, the FBI had to call a judge and say, we need a search warrant. The judge had to say, well, on what grounds? You could not have convinced a judge to get a search warrant if he said, well, he's just Saudi Arabian. Excuse me?
Excuse me.
You had to have more to get a search warrant. They searched his house for 5 hours and took things from his house as evidence. They also grilled his roommates for 5 hours. Spent 5 hours, took them downtown, and spoke to them for 5 solid hours. Now that sounds to me like there should be some civil lawsuits if that was all, there was nothing there. Then, to get a 2123B, an event file opened up, they had to go back to the NTC at about noon and spend at least 2 hours in front of a panel of judges and present physical evidence and say, this is what we found, this is what this guy is doing, this is who he is. We have to put him on Section 2123B, which makes him deemed a terrorist and a threat to the United States. This is not something that you phone in. This was a panel. I have spoken to people who have been through this and say this is one of the hardest things that you can get anyone to do in the government. If you go, it's like a root canal. The prosecutors have told us that it is like a root canal to be able to go through and get one of these 2123Bs. So by 4 o'clock on Tuesday, they had that. Since then, according to the various agencies investigating the bombing, al-Harbi has gone from the suspect in custody to material witness to witness to victim. His association with the NTC report has been explained various times by the FBI, ICE, and DHS as a completely false accusation, a case of mistaken identity, and finally yesterday, the DHS calling it basically a rush to judgment on the part of the FBI the FBI was in chaos following the bombing. Now, if I'm in the FBI, I certainly would hear what they said to the Blaze yesterday. If I'm in the FBI, because I believe the FBI knew, is trying to do the right thing, and the FBI goes and they tell John King, because that's who John King said his sources were, the FBI. There was another reporter at CNN that also verified from two other FBI sources that they had a, quote, their words, not the FBI's, dark-skinned man in custody.
What?
See, the FBI looks like they're being set up. They admitted he was placed on the no-fly list for the first time, but said that it was the FBI's mistake. Hear that, FBI? In fact, DHS apparently so confident that the FBI made a mistake in originally thinking that he was a suspect that they told the Blaze yesterday they didn't even know where Al Harvey was anymore. They are so convinced that this guy's not even a suspect and it was the FBI's problem that when we asked where he was, they said, we don't know, maybe he's still in the hospital. We're not following him at all. They did tell us that they were deporting a Saudi national, but only a poor schmuck that they say was at the port of Boston after the bombing buying dates. And apparently the DHS, because that's all the information they'll give us on him, apparently the DHS thinks that you should be deported if you are buying dates. He was detained. They found out that he had a visa that had expired, so they're sending him home. By the way, they had no explanation on why Al Harvey had originally been given the worst designation possible on a deportation form, Section 212 3B, terrorism. They're treating that file as it doesn't exist. But we and members of Congress know it does because members of Congress have it in hand. We'd like to ask the FBI what it was they found in their 9-hour search of Abdul Rahman Ali Harbi's apartment, or at the scene of the bombing that led them to ask to get the Section 2123B terrorist activities designation. Every expert in the field we've talked to has said that that's a charge that is nearly impossible to get approved, yet somehow the FBI did it, and then 24 hours later, after 2 visits at the White House by Saudi ministers, the order was rescinded. Mr. Mueller, can you explain how all of this happened? Does the FBI have an explanation on that? The House Committee on Homeland Security would like to know, and I'm sure the American public would like to know as well. By the way, if you're in the American public and you'd like to know, I would suggest you call your congressman now and you ask why your congressman is not demanding that the House Committee on Homeland Security is supported, because the members of the Homeland Security House Committee are demanding a private, confidential, closed-door meeting with the DHS to find out these answers. DHS won't answer. We should also ask for the FBI. So I would suggest that you call your congressman now. Hurry. Please. Limited time. On Friday, a source at ICE who refused to be named also told the Blaze and other media outlets that our reporting was a clear-cut case of mistaken identity, that there were 2 Saudi nationals that have been in custody with the same or similar name, that the Abdul Rahman Ali al-Harbi that had been held in custody in the hospital following the bombing, the one we reported had an event filed declaring him a terrorist, just wasn't the same Abdul Rahman Ali al-Harbi. There's another, not connected with the Boston bombing, and that he was being deported. Yesterday, DHS told the Blaze there was no mistaken identity, that it was just a mistake of the FBI. We'd like to know which one is it. When asked why al-Harbi was in Boston when his visa was issued for attendance to go to school in Ohio, Findlay, Ohio, DHS initially said, again, that there were 2 Abdul Rahman Ali al-Harbis. One in Findlay, Ohio, and the other one lived in Boston. Yesterday told us, no, there is only one, but he transferred from Ohio school to Boston. No harm, no foul there. Except the University of Findlay has no record of that transfer. A few other questions that we have to sweep up on. Who are the other two men that are living in the Revere, Massachusetts apartment occupied by Al Harvey? The ones the FBI spent 5 hours with. Can you tell us anything about that? Well, here's one question that we would like to know. Do they have the legal right to be in this country? Are they supposed to be here? Have either of them overstayed their visa? Where are they from? Might be worth looking into if I were an INS agent. Yeah, that's going to happen. Back to the FBI. Did the recent decision to purge the manuals, and this is really important, any member of the FBI, you should kick this one up the chain of command. Or you should call your congressman, and if you have any information, or we'll protect you as a source if you want to call the blaze. Did the recent decision to purge the manuals of sections dealing with Islamic extremism and the resulting change in investigative techniques have anything to do with us not being able to track the two men accused of the Boston bombings? Because you warned Russia to keep an eye on these guys, and then you apparently didn't. Now that would tell me that you were either incompetent or you're going to take the fall for being incompetent, because nobody's really talking about the rule change where you purged the manuals so you couldn't follow those guys. I'm wondering if we've ever learned anything at all from 9/11. I'm wondering if we have exactly the same problems with the FBI, and Department of Homeland Security now is just making it worse. I'm wondering which one of you guys is going to be the first to throw the other under the bus. Boy, that's going to be fun to watch. Who takes the blame for this one in the end? I'm sure it's not the White House. DHS Secretary Janet Napolitano, could you please ask or answer the question, why are you refusing to give even a classified briefing about the Saudi national or the nationals or lack thereof of Saudi nationals, or even maybe at time, maybe even the lack of evidence that there even is a country called Saudi Arabia? Can you please answer the question why you won't give a classified briefing about the Saudi national or anyone that was going to be deported? Not to me, you don't need to give it to me or the Blaze, but the Committee on Homeland Security, I'm just thinking that the House Committee has been asking, and you won't give it to them. I'm just wondering why. Because, man, if there's just some things that just need to be cleared up, why don't you just clear it up? Why don't you have it out in the open? Because they have the documents. If you haven't seen the documents, which you claim you haven't seen, if you haven't seen the documents, they have them. In fact, they asked you yesterday to produce them. You haven't responded to that either. I wonder why. Because, boy, this seems really detrimental, doesn't it? I mean, it seems really bad. Because it would be so easy just to clear this up. You've got these people in Congress, they should be getting back to business, because you say this is a waste of time. It would be so easy if you just produced the document and gave it to Congress, so they know that you're not lying. Because they have the document. Just show them your document. That's it. They've asked politely.
And now you know the rest of the story. So, to be continued. Oh, by the way, you might think that Diane Einstein has Miranda rights to say this? Huh. So, what? This Diane Einstein, she is worth it. Whatever. Anyways, make sure you Facebook me and follow me at facebook.com and twitter.com. You know my username, LHMusicTime. And check my website, LHMusicTimeFactor.gmail.com, for the LHMusic TimeFactor website, and still is my TimeFactor page on Facebook at facebook.com/LHMusicTime 2012, and I posted on Twitter as well. That's it for now. I'll be back tomorrow. And trust me, I know what I'm doing. See you tomorrow. LHMusic signing off. God's blessings. Bye-bye.